Okay, so I'm not going to try to do a live video. I'm going to try this. Sorry if you were watching the live video and I deleted it. There was just like a lot of distractions in it. I didn't like it. So I'm going to try this. And then this way, if your kids don't have Facebook, then we can try and they can follow along with me. So, again, we are reading at the top of page 480. Harry has just taken some elixir to make him lucky. He is walking to Hagrid's hut, to help bury Aragog, and he runs into Professor Slughorn. He's trying to get a memory from Slughorn so that they can come up with a plan to figure out what Voldemort's doing, but Harry cannot get it. We made a prediction to see, is Harry going to get the memory now or is he not? And now we're going to read to figure out if our predictions came true or not. Okay? So, at the top of 480, if we're following along, it says, seized with an immediate desire to reveal himself, Harry pulled off the cloak with a flourish. Good evening, Professor. Merlin's beard, Harry, you made me jump, said Slughorn, stopping dead in his tracks and looking wary. How did you get out of the castle? I think Filch must have forgotten to lock the doors, said Harry cheerfully, and was delighted to see Slughorn scowl. I'll be reporting that man. He's more concerned about litter than proper security, if you ask me. But why are you out here, Harry? Well, sir, it's Hagrid, said Harry, who knew that the right thing to do just now was to tell the truth. He's pretty upset, but you won't tell anyone, Professor. I don't want any trouble for him. Slughorn's curiosity was evidently aroused. Well, I can't promise that, he said gruffly, but I do know that Dumbledore trusts Hagrid to the hilt, so I'm sure he can't be up to anything very dreadful. Well, it's this giant spider. He had it for years. It lived in the forest. It could talk and everything. I heard rumors there were chromantulas in the forest, said Slughorn softly, looking over the mass of black trees. It's true, then? Yes, said Harry, but this one, Aragog, the first one Hagrid ever got, it died last night. He's devastated. He wants company while he buries it, and I said I'd go. Touching, said Slughorn absent-mindedly, his large droopy eyes fixed upon the distant lights of Hagrid's cabin. But Acromantula venom is very valuable. If the beast only just died, it might not have drained out. Of course, I wouldn't want to do anything insensitive if Hagrid is upset, but if there was any way to produce some, I mean, it's almost impossible to get venom from an Acromantula while it's alive. Slughorn seemed to be talking more to himself than Harry now. Seems an awful waste not to collect it. Might get 100 galleons a pint. To be frank, my salary is not large. And now Harry saw clearly what was to be done. Well, he said, with the most convincing hesitancy, well, if you wanted to come, Professor, Hagrid would probably be really pleased. Give Aragog a better send-off, you know. Yes, of course, said Slughorn, his eyes now gleaming with enthusiasm. I tell you what, Harry, I'll meet you down there with a bottle or two. We'll drink the poor beast's, well, not health, but we'll send it off in style. Anyway, once it's buried, I'll change my tie. This one's a little exuberant for the occasion. He bustled back to the castle, and Harry sped off to Hagrid's, delighted with himself. You came, croaked Hagrid when he opened the door and saw Harry emerging from the invisibility cloak in front of him. Yeah, Ron and Hermione couldn't, though, Harry said. They're really sorry. Don't matter. He'd been touched. You're here, though, Harry. Hagrid gave a great sob. He had made himself a black armband out of what looked like a rag dipped in boot polish, and his eyes were puffy, red, and swollen. Harry patted him consolingly on the elbow, which was the highest point of Hagrid he could reach easily. Where are we burying him? He asked. The forest? Blimey, no, said Hagrid, wiping his streaming eyes to the bottom of his shirt. The other spiders won't let me anywhere near their webs now Aragog's gone. Turns out it was only on his orders they didn't eat me. Can you believe that, Harry? The honest answer was yes. Harry recalled with painful ease the scene where he and Ron had come face to face with the Chromatullas. They had been quite clear that Aragog was the only thing that stopped them from eating Hagrid. Never been in an area of the forest I couldn't go before, said Hagrid, shaking his head. It wasn't easy getting Aragog's body out of there, I can tell you. They usually eat their dead, see? But I wanted to give him a nice burial, a proper send-off. He broke into sobs again, and Harry resumed the patting of his elbow, saying as he did so, for the potion seemed to indicate that that was the right thing to do. Professor Slughorn met me coming down here, Hagrid. Not in trouble, are you? Said Hagrid, looking up, alarmed. You shouldn't be out of the castle in the evening. I know it. It's my fault. No. When he heard what I was doing, he said he'd like to come and pay his last respects to Aragog, too, said Harry. He's gone to change into something more suitable, I think, and he said he'd bring some bottles so we can drink to Aragog's memory. Did he? Said Hagrid, looking both astonished and touched. That's right nice of him, that is. Not turn you in either. I really never had a lot to do with Horace Slughorn before. Coming to see Aragog off, though, eh? Well, he'd have liked that, Aragog would. Harry thought privately that what Aragog would have liked most about Slughorn was the ample amount of edible flesh he provided, but he merely moved to the rear window of Hagrid's hut, where he saw a rather horrible sight of the enormous dead spider lying on its back outside, its legs curled and tangled. And are we going to bury him here, Hagrid, in your garden? Just beyond the pumpkin patch, I thought, said Hagrid in a choked voice. I've already dug the, grave. Just thought we'd say a nice few things over him. Happy memories, His voice quivered and broke. There was a knock at the door, and he turned to answer it, blowing his nose on his great spotted handkerchief as he did so. Hagrid hurried over the threshold, several bottles in his arms, and wearing a somber black cravat. Hagrid, he said in a deep, grave voice, so very sorry to hear for your loss. That's very nice of you, said Hagrid. Thanks a lot, and thanks for not giving Harry detention either. Wouldn't have dreamed of it, said Slughorn. Sad night. Where is the poor creature? Out here, said Hagrid in a shaky voice. Shall we do it then? The three of them stepped out into the back garden. The moon was glistening palely through the trees now, and its rays mingled with the light spilling from Hagrid's window to illuminate Aragog's body lying on the edge of the massive pit beside the 10-foot-high mound of freshly dug earth. Magnificent, said Slughorn, approaching the spider's head, where 8 milky eyes stared blankly at the sky, and 2 huge curved pincers shone motionless in the moonlight. Harry thought he heard the tinkle of bottles as Slughorn bent over the pincers, apparently examining the enormous hairy head. It's not everyone's appreciates how beautiful they are, said Hagrid to Slughorn's back, tears leaking from the corners of his eyes. I didn't know you're interested in creatures like Aragog, Horace. Interested? My dear Hagrid, I revere them, said Slughorn, stepping back from the body. Harry saw the glint of the bottle disappear beneath his cloak, though Hagrid, mopping his eyes once more, noticed nothing. Now, shall we proceed to the burial? Hagrid nodded and moved forward. He heaved the gigantic spider into his arms and, with an enormous grunt, rolled it into the dark pit. It hit the bottom with a rather horrible, crunchy thud. Hagrid started to cry again. Of course, it's difficult for you. You knew him best, said Slughorn, who, like Harry, could reach no higher than Hagrid's elbow, but patted it all the same. Why don't I say a few words? He must have got a lot of good quality venom from Aragog, Harry thought, for Slughorn wore a satisfied smirk as he stepped up to the rim of the pit and said in a low, impressive voice, Farewell, Aragog. kind king of arachnids, those long and faithful friendships those who knew you won't forget. Though your body will decay, your spirit lingers on in the quiet, web-spun places of your forest home. May your many-eyed descendants ever flourish, and your human friends find solace for the loss they have sustained. That was beautiful, howled Hagrid, and he collapsed into the compost heap, crying harder than ever. There, there, said Slughorn, waving his hand so that the huge pile of earth rose up and then fell with a muffled sort of crash onto the dead spider, forming a smooth mound. Let's get inside and have a drink. Get on his other side, Harry, that's it. Come on, up you come, Hagrid. Well done. They deposited Hagrid in the chair at the table. Fang, who had been sulking in his basket during the burial, now came paddling softly across to them and put his heavy head into Harry's lap as usual. Slughorn uncorked one of the bottles of wine he had brought. I have had it all tested for poison, he assured Harry, pouring most of the first bottle into one of Hagrid's bucket-sized mugs and handing it to Hagrid. So I assume that he said that he had it all tested for poison because Ron was poisoned, right? So I'm going to make that connection, and I'm going to say that's why he said he tested it all for poison. Had a house elf taste every drop after what happened to your poor friend Rupert? Harry saw in his mind's eyes the expression of Hermione's face if she had ever heard about this abuse of house elves and decided never to mention it to her. One for Harry, said Slughorn, dividing the second bottle between two mugs, one for me. Well, he raised his mug and said, to Aragog. Aragog, said Harry and Hagrid together. Both Slughorn and Hagrid drank deeply. However, Harry, however, with the way ahead illuminated for him by Felix Elixir, knew that he must not drink, so he merely pretended to take a gulp and then set the mug back on the table before him. All right, I'm going to stop there. I know I said I was going to read to the end of the chapter, but I'm going to stop right there, and I think we can make a prediction again. I think we can be a little bit more specific with our prediction now. And I'm going to say, if before I thought Harry wasn't going to get it, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to say I think Harry's for sure going to get the memory because he's taken the elixir to make him feel lucky, so he knows what to do. And Hagrid and Slughorn are drinking something that's going to kind of alter their state, I guess, and he's probably going to catch Slughorn off guard and get that memory from him, is my prediction. So I'm going to pause right there. We stopped on page 486. We're at the top of 486. And you don't have to answer any questions, just hopefully you enjoyed the reading today, and we will finish the chapter tomorrow. All right? Bye, guys.